I'm not a good drama streamer. It's because I can't really stay mad more than like a day. I'm already all over it, honestly. I hope Riley takes time to reflect and arrives at less dumb positions. I can't. I'm sorry, I can't stay mad for very long. She won't. No, she won't. But the calling the bar stuff is bad, right? Well, my default reaction is yeah, it is because it's really dumb to involve like IRL stuff. I think in this case it's mitigated slightly by the fact that she invokes her legal training in her online profession, you know? Like it's not incidental to what she does. I mean, her being a lawyer is a component of her online presence, you know. Like for instance, if imagine like if Legal Eagle like did some really fucked up stuff. I mean, well, he's a lawyer. Like, you know, it's not like he has his YouTube channel and he just happens to be a lawyer. They're intricately tied. Even with that mitigating factor, though, I don't think you should be like contacting the bar. No, I don't think that's seems unnecessary to me. You think she should be removed from the LGBTQ civil rights org she's a board member of, considering the weird misgendering and pedophile? You're just gonna ask me for every opinion I have. Okay, I don't I don't know if we're yet at a point where you could argue that a discomfort with or even an opposition to neo-pronouns necessarily means that you can't be a part of like I wonder like if we go to every single LGBTQ civil rights advocacy board in the world and like ask all of them like what do you think about its pronouns, we'd probably call like 80% of them out, you know, like that would be quite a lot of them, I think. I don't know. I think what you guys need to understand, and I please don't interpret this as me downplaying, but what you need to understand, and I think the evidence backs this up, okay, is to you guys this is spicy internet drama, you know? The only person really affected negatively, I guess, would be Doe. But Riley will be sad for like 6 months over this. Okay, in terms of in terms of like how much rope we're giving a person to hang themselves with, you know, metaphorically speaking. Riley has dug a very deep hole in like 48 hours. So I feel like uh I feel like there's no need to be looking at the very deep hole, like looking down into the hole, you know, which is like, yeah, like really, really deep, and be like, I should contact the bar association. That seems unnecessary to me. It makes me uncomfortable specifically because it feels dehumanizing and I feel weird referring to a person as though they were an object. Right, but would you accept a person saying they didn't want to use she, her pronouns for a trans woman because they felt uncomfortable using she, her pronouns for a person who had a dick? Your discomfort's not the best argument, right? If you want to make like a broader argument about the utility of of using certain language, your discomfort is well, I guess it's not irrelevant, but for me, the its pronoun stuff is uncomfortable to use, not because of the dehumanization element. I don't give a fuck about that. It's just because when I hear a sentence that has it in it, I'm thinking object, event, concept, you know? So when I hear like, oh, you know, it did really well last night, I'm thinking, it a concert? It an argument? What it a person that's it, and then I think and then I'm fine. But for me it's not like a dehumanization thing, it's just my, you know, decades of you having it used in that way. But that's not really an argument. I mean, it's just a yeah, yeah, well that's what people say about they them, right? A lot of people say that about they them singular. The argument that I just made is identical to the singular they them argument people have made, like, oh well, it's a well-known, it's a used pronoun and stuff, and I know it's a used pronoun, but I'm not used to using it singular, like that kind of thing, right? But it's not. What do you think? Some people are claiming you misgendered it because you use they them sometimes. I don't think you misgender a person when you use they them. I think you misgender a person when you use they them to avoid using their chosen pronouns. So I use they them all the time with cis and trans people, regardless of their gender. I used it all the time in that convo as well. Riley exclusively used they them because she was avoiding using its. But you can hear me. Listen to me talk about. I've probably said they in the last Rittenhouse segment, talking about Rittenhouse like a bunch of times. Like it to me, to me, it's ubiquitous. I think I'm fair in that respect. But Riley was very clearly using they them to avoid using it's, which was confirmed because when I brought it up, Riley was like, "Oh, we'll talk about gender later." Like clearly, um, she was avoiding that. Vaush notorious for doing this during D&D and confusing us about what characters type. Yeah. I've said this before, but you woke Zoomer jackals are out to get me canceled. So I know so many trans people, and I don't even know who's trans, and everyone's trans, and they is the thing that I go to immediately. I just if my mouth is running slow enough that my brain catches up to what I'm saying, I can use a deliberate pronoun, but for the most part, it's just, will you stream your D&D games? No. What if I don't want any pronouns? Just address me with my name always. I would still use they, right? I don't think that you misgender a person by using they. I would just use your name. Like the complete annexation, or the annexing of not annexing, the axing, the removal of like pronouns for a person. Well, no, I don't know if you could really fit that into a gender framework. God, I'm so tired. Jesus Christ. Do I have a debate later? Holy shit. Is it too late for me to cancel? I'll say I have COVID. Get me out of here. Nope, we're not canceling. Fuck. Okay. God damn it. Alright. That's life. It'd be ideal to just get rid of gendered pronouns as a whole. No, some languages do that. Yeah, well, talking about that and actually doing it are two very different things. I think that if we were to have pronouns, I think that it would be good to have multiple pronouns, but them distinguishing gender seems kind of dumb. I feel like it would be better for them to distinguish something more contextually relevant to the conversation. There are other languages that do this. Pronouns that indicate your level of like respect for the person or like familiarity, I guess, would be a little more, or like height, exactly. Like you have different terms for tall people and short. Exactly, yeah. So you can appropriately discriminate. Use pronouns that distinguish between social credit levels. Yeah, like China. Exactly. When you have a very low social credit score, your pronoun is actually the sound of them spitting on the ground. If you can believe it. Riley was, at the end of my last stream, I said, I hope she didn't say this, but she did, of course, that after the whole conversation with her, Gayfesh said that Riley took all of that and was like, so Vaush thinks it's okay to have sex in front of kids, which to me is a remarkably unwise interpretation of my argument. But anyway, we did eventually get the clip.
Gosh, like voting is recorded. Sorry, what?
This is from after I talked.
Vaush's position flip, like, because he eventually conceded that, like, yeah, it's fine to be able to do sex in, like, he's fine with public sex.
I talked with her for like 2 hours. She was watching me for an hour before the 2-hour talk.
Even if it's around kids. Right? That, like, am I crazy to think that he agreed to that at the end? I don't know. Maybe I'm just tired.
I don't know that.
Maybe. I can't let the tired excuse that. It's, man. Well, she's gonna take a break from the internet for a bit. Yeah, I talked to her in private a little bit after all of that. Before I saw that, no, it was after I saw that clip. I did talk to her a little bit, and I just I hope she improves, but she seems detached from reality. Look, like I said, this fits into the lolcow thing for me. The hole that was dug here was from her. I'm not hurt from this, and also obviously, like, I understand there's a stress element because from their perspective, right, Doe and Riley are both known online. They're prominent. I mean, they're not invisible, but they're not large content creators. And then for me to intercede, to jump in on that, to cover the drama and then talk, I mean, it's magnifying the attention being brought to the issue 10, 50 times. So that's going to, massive amount of pressure. Different people handle pressure in different ways. I don't think that Riley handles it especially well, which is why I warned her not to talk to me. But I think I do hope she improves. It's just I think that yeah, well, because my goal here isn't to, I think you guys can agree, or maybe this is just me talking myself up, but I feel like when I'm in situations like this, I'm usually not very scummy. Like trying to drag vulnerable people on stream to like milk content from them. I feel like for the most part, I don't do that. I've even refrained from talking to Nazis back in the old days because I felt like they were unwell, and I felt like I was just, even if they were Nazis and their opinions were disgusting, I felt like I was kind of like, if I kept bringing them on, it'd just be like, exploiting the mental unwellness. I try, I don't like to lean in on that too hard. But with Riley, I mean, I cover the drama, which I feel I have a right to do, and Riley showed up insisting to come on, and I not only never asked her to come on, she stayed in chat for an hour insisting to come on. But I even said beforehand, like, be careful. There's always a deeper hole to dig. You know? I feel like I exercised a reasonable level. Yeah, President Sunday was saying don't go. You guys in chat were all saying, like, please do not go on like this. But if she wants to come, I'm not gonna, like, patronize her. Oh, you're too emotional to come on. Like, no, I mean, if you want to come on. But anyway, I talked with her afterwards, and I think I said this before, but like on reflection, I feel like I'm correct. I feel like it's a narcissism thing, I feel like Riley is, and I do think Riley's smart, by the way. I do think that. I don't think Riley is smart, and I also don't think she's malicious. But I think Riley is difficult, like has difficulty with introspection, and I think that Riley feels a need to perform rationality as an aesthetic, because it better suits her understanding of herself. The legal briefs. No, I'm sorry. I think she's smart. If I misspoke, I do think she's smart. I don't think she's malicious. I think the legal briefs and the philosophical terminology invoked needlessly and stuff like that, I feel like these are things she does for herself, because it better fits her image of herself, that she thinks of herself as a smart woman, which I think she is. But so she dresses herself in these, it's in a way, to be, a little mean, it's sort of like the, logical atheist type thing, with the trench coat and the fedora. I mean, people adopt the affects of rationality because it suits their image of themselves. And I think Riley does that with the legal, like posting tweets in a fake legal brief. My God, I've never seen that before. That's unimaginable to me. That's incredible. I mean, that's almost like a skit, like the law student who like the law student who like, posts legal briefs on the door of their neighbors to ask them to quiet down. Like, I mean, it's, but she doesn't. She did it multiple times after being made fun of too. So I think she does those things for her sake, and I think she has this very strong view of her own rationality, where she has convinced herself, delusionally, that when people disagree with her, it must be because they're not listening. She said that a million times over. Nobody's listening to me. Nobody's engaging with me. She said that to Doe, when Doe was engaging with everything Riley said. Doe was on point every time, engaging with what Riley said. And then Riley said that about me when I was watching the drama between Doe and Riley. Then Riley said that to me while talking with me. And then Riley said that afterwards on Twitter and in my DMs. And then Riley said it on Twitter while saying, I'm going to leave Twitter before I kill myself. Riley, I don't think, is capable of understanding that the problem isn't that she's not being listened to, it's that she is being listened to. The problem is she's being listened to and her arguments are bad, and we're listening to the bad arguments, and that's why everything that is happening is happening. You know? I can relate to feeling like I can't be wrong on certain things. Look, I want to be clear, okay? I do often feel like I'm not being listened to, and I've made that claim many times with my drama, but the difference is, in my experience, most of the things that I feel like I'm not listened to on, if I bring people on and talk with them about it for 15 minutes, they move over to my position. You guys have seen that happen a bunch of times, whether it's about prior drama, or bad faith interpretations of my arguments, or like basic stuff about whether or not I believe X or Y. If I talk to them for like 5 or 10 minutes, they're usually like, oh, yeah, okay. Or like they move on, you know, it's not something they insist on. Because I feel like a lot of it literally is just a lack of information. Like there's clips circulating. But with Riley's case, I watched the argument for an hour and a half and then talked with her for 2 hours. I mean, I had engaged, and I just disagreed, but she couldn't think of that as anything beyond not being listened to. Which is, at least from what I've seen, I feel like I've watched it twice, yeah. A fairly narcissistic mentality. You know, it's always other people's fault. It's always, always, always other people's fault. Um, that they disagree with me. You know, it couldn't possibly be. Yeah. She also has some very Puritan views on sex, but I think those two just mixed and, you know, made things worse. Oh yeah, like it. I'm sure by the time she got to me, she was primed to double down, but I feel like I gave her the opportunity to change her mind, you know? Um, like I feel like at least at the beginning of that, I was trying to like, you know, here, like here. I mean, I was frustrated towards the end, but yeah. Oh, it's already happening. Look, see? Destiny in his own chat. Oh my god, this RGR convo. Oh no, Doe baited her so hard. RGR needed to run so fast. This Doe person is so brainless. Yeah, it's right, see. Oh hey Doe. Yeah, it's baited. Um And this, well, the bait Destiny's referring to is probably Doe dropping the trauma bomb, which I will admit, by the way, is nuking a conversation. It is dropping a little, what is it, the little boy and the fat man on the conversation. But I think in this case it was at first I was a bit put off by, I mean, it's off-putting, I think, by default, by way of it being, I mean, it was deliberately off-putting, but at first I was my facts and logic lord brain was put off by it. But after thinking about it more, I actually think the opposite. The more I thought about it, I think the interesting thing to me is that, you know, I don't even think Riley had to bite that bullet. I don't think that Riley needed to claim that the leering at the potential child sex slave wasn't a sex act. I feel like Riley didn't even have to bite that bullet. Even within her own logic system, I feel like Riley almost tricked herself into thinking it was necessary, like there was some like she was dazed. Yeah, no, it contradicted. I think if anything it's indicative of the fact that she wasn't arriving at her positions by thinking them through. I think she just had sort of either defensive or like a moralistic need to, if anything, I think it was effective not in showing her positions but rather her lack of positions, which was which is an interesting debate tactic. I've never had anything that extreme happen to me, so I don't think I can really drop that. I just yeah, really contrarian brained, I think. But anyway, because there's a whole bunch of Doe, you've probably seen, you've spawned a ton of discourse on Twitter. Jack Saint got over 10K likes saying, I just saw a person claim that you're trauma dumping when you talk about trauma in the context of a conversation on CSA. And now there's some 40K like tweet talking about something similar. I mean, there's this whole, I mean, big viral tweets now because of this. I don't even know if most of the people liking these have anything to do with you. I don't even know if they know you, but that's how that works, right? Shut up. Anyway, but the point that I'm trying to get at is that, and I'm borrowing this argument a bit, but I think the reason why that Dabarino from Doe, that's the technical term. I think the reason that Dabarino from Doe, I do think there's an importance to discussing hypotheticals, but at the same time, hypothetical discussions are only valuable if they can survive contact with the real world. And I think that Doe's Dabarino was an effective way of recontextualizing the severity of what they were talking about around its real world implications rather than just this sort of abstract, detached. Because I think the idea that you're abusing children by being barefoot in public next to people with foot, like this is such a internet poisoned, completely like detached from reality perspective, like just a completely like no connection to the real world, just absolutely void brained, no relationship with reality. So dragging that down a little bit, I think it's sometimes in a debate, it's not just about the logical argument, it's about framing the debate tonally. That's also very important. So I think that's, if nothing else, that's valuable. I'm sure, Doe, but I'll read it so that people know what I'm responding to. The response from people has been insane. I legit didn't expect it. It's kind of frightening to have that many eyes on the first time. It was public. One of the things that specifically happened to me. I need to stop looking. It's impossible to stop. Someone said, I'm just hoping to just get blazed and disappear. Well, you can't get so high you disappear, I'm afraid. But, you know, the response has been overwhelmingly positive as far as I've seen. I mean, all the big, at least from what I've seen, it's been an overwhelming cavalcade of support. You know, I'm sure Destiny's community will inevitably sort of try to project some negativity, but I think that was kind of a foregone conclusion, you know, given the circumstances. I do want to say though that given everything, considering the fact that Destiny actually made fun of your attempt in your life, that any accusations that I'm encouraging harassment against Riley and that Riley's mental health is at stake are particularly funny. You know, this is almost a perfect parallel in which they have no right to speak. So I'm sure they will anyway, but you know. It has been overwhelmingly positive. The messages from people sharing their own traumas with me has been a lot, but I really appreciate how much what I said rung true with other survivors. Yeah, well, I imagine, and I'm only guessing here because my experience with child sexual abuse has been, let's say, minimal, but I imagine that, you know, cutting through the euphemism might be, I don't want to say refreshing. Chat, can you help me out with this one? I imagine for people who have experienced really bad stuff like that, there's a sort of yeah, a catharsis. Yeah, catharsis associated with with such a, you know, direct acknowledgement. You had one experience though, right? Yeah, when I was young, like 10 years old or so, I would sometimes visit my grandparents uh over in Florida. And there were the neighbors' kids, you know, who were a bit older than me. I was like 10 or 11, but I was a big kid. They were older. One of them was like 13, the other was like 17 or something. And they were bigger. Do we need a trigger warning? No. Um, and anyway, sometimes, you know, I'd sleep over there, they'd sleep over here, whatever. I don't actually remember if I was there or they were here, but it was a sleepover, you know. And and we were hanging out. I think I had a Game Boy Color or something. I think that was the level of technology I had at the time. But anyway, we were having a sleepover. And at some point, I'm awake. It's like 1 a.m. and the older brother, the older kid of the neighbors, is also awake. And he's talking with me, and I forget the details. I can barely remember what I did, yesterday, but he tried to get me to do this, like, let's play a game, touch some part of my body. And I can see his silhouette in the light of the moon, like through the window shades. So I can see he's sort of like standing over me or whatever. And now 10-year-old Vaush is no fool, okay? 10-year-old Vaush has a keenly honed sense of danger. You see, the original John Wick. But anyway, this kid's much bigger than me. Either way, I mean, I'm prepubescent. He's 17. He's like 6'2", about the size I would eventually become. He's skinny as a rake though. Anyway, he's standing over me, and I like touch his shoulder, and he's like, "Nah, that's not it. Try again." And I'm thinking in my head, like, how do I win here? What's the win? What's the win situation here? What's the victory, So I like touch what I can't see, but it's like his knee or something. How old was he? Like 17 or something. I touch his knee, and he's like, "Nah." And I tell him, like, "I know what you're doing. You should probably go to bed," or something like that. Or like, "I know what you're doing. Like, you go to bed, or I'll leave," or something like that. And I guess he just kind of stopped. I don't remember whose house we were at, but I guess he just kind of stopped. And later the next morning, I told my parents, grandparents, whatever, authority figure back at my house, and whoo boy did he get in trouble. Yoicks! I never found out what happened to him. Never saw him again. Is he dead? Maybe. He's not dead. I heard eventually what happened to him. Yeah. Oh, yeah, wait, Vermin is completely correct. The only reason that happened in the way that it did was because I'd had a sex education. Not from my school, but from my parents. They'd already had the talk with me. If they hadn't, I probably would have been clueless. But because I knew, this and that, and this is appropriate and that's not, I was able to respond to that, so. I was 10-ish. I could give or take 2 years, either direction. I don't know. Either way, I think I had my sex ed class in 5th grade, which is way too late. Gally, I think it's 32 by 32 pixels. I could be wrong though. Did you have a beard back then too? Yes. What age is 5th grade? I think 10. Well, wait, you start high school at 14, right? So 14 is 9th. 13, 8, 10, yeah, 10, I think. Yeah, 10 to 11, yeah. But that's way, way, way too late. You think kids aren't getting abused before then? What the fuck are you? No. Easily, like, basic run-through. What age should sex ed start? You should get a run-through in kindergarten. Easy. You don't have to learn, like, a bunch of crazy shit. This just fucking 15 minutes. Easy peasy. Also, they're kindergartners. What the fuck else are they going to learn? Crayon sniffing? What just a basic, like very, very basic. And by the way, I'm not really talking biology. I'm talking etiquette here, okay? I'm not saying like, and here's the mating press position. It's when you lift her legs up so that her butt is facing the ceiling, and then you lean forward and slam her. I'm not saying you have to go through the fucking the hentai dioramas to, hey, suck, then left. But etiquette, at least. That's simple, Here's where, if any adult's touching you here, that's bad. Like, stuff like that. Like, that would be, I think, really easy. And I didn't get that, I don't think. But my parents taught me, and that's why I was able to not get abused when I was 10 or whatever. So I think that's my instructive lesson. That's one of the reasons why I'm insistent on the necessity for sex education at a young age, because I can attest to its to its worth. Yeah. Stop trauma dumping, yeah. Do you think there are a substantially higher level number of pedos hidden in society we'd commonly believe? Unfortunately, I think basically all evidence points to that being the case, yeah. The most common uh sources of child sexual abuse aren't like priests. It's parents and step parents and whatever. Like just that or like uncles or what. It's just like the family, super young people, hey, don't tell anyone. Then it fades away and people just have sort of repressed memories, you know. That is yeah, that is by far the most common, you know, sort of thing. So if you know, if you teach these kids young, and that's one of the reasons why I'm always a little sussy wussy if people are like, you know, like John Doyle, parents should have control over their kids' education and sex. No, I disagree. They are statistically the most likely people to abuse young children, significantly more likely than teachers by an enormous extent, by a huge, massive extent. So no, actually, I think that everyone should be taught. Again, just the basics, not some crazy shit. Oh yeah, Sock Done Left has yeah, Sock Done Left actually tweeted this, which I thought was pretty pug. So Crowder called drag queens pedos. Vaush responded. At the end, Vaush explained and supported preventative sex ed, which informed kids how to identify, resist, or report sex abuse. Few studies examine PSE's real-world outcomes, but every study done strongly supports it. Yeah. 40% of the participants stated that the knowledge and skills they learned had helped them in specific real-life situations. I guess that'd be one of those 40%, right? And 25% revealed they'd use the info from the programs to help a friend. That's a lot. 40%. I mean, that's a... Is there a region for that? You can go look at the tweets. You know, I don't want to linger on this for too long. The stronger evidence is in the left pick. Right after I close the window. Right after I close the window. But I'll do it for you, SDL. Fuck me, it's cold in here. It has been so fucking cold in here. I should have Diablo running in the background just to have the computer generate more heat. Shit. It's not my body. It's not my body that's cold. It's my hands. My hands freeze. Let's see. One of the first studies that provided evidence of this effect found schools that apply preventative programs 1 year later double the percentage of sexual abuse revelations. Holy shit! Schools that applied prevention programs 1 year later doubled the percentage of sexual abuse revelations compared to schools that hadn't. So if you're not in favor of these types of programs, then you are in favor of literally having the number of child sexual abuse cases found. That is a lot of suffering to kick under the rug just to avoid your kids being taught about the existence of vaginas. Child welfare programs also reduce abuse. That also tracks. Data mail. Data. In the real world, child sex abuse declined 64% between 1990. What actually works to stop child abuse? 2 things that cons hate: child welfare programs and preventative sex ed. If we ever talk to Michael Knowles, I'm going to ask him why he supports pedophilia. Excuse me. We need to go harder. Way harder. I'll like this so that I have a future record. There we go. Way harder. All right. Did you see Dylan posting cringe on the Twitter? He's apparently real upset. Yeah, what is the the context here? Like Dylan just like real friends with RGR. Are they like friends? Dylan and RGR? Is it about Skyrim? Maybe. What was that tweet thread? There were people saying that Dylan was like playing defense for RGR or something. Dylan said nothing about the shit RGR did to Doe and only spoke up about people going after RGR's career. I feel like he defended RGR before actually watching the debate and your coverage of it. Well, that can be pretty bad, right? I mean, like if a person's in a drama pit, you know, and you sort of reflexively defend them. I mean, it's because Dylan was really angry people went after the bar. Yeah, but you got to contextualize it, right? He was condemning the people who were insulting her. Well, you should probably... He gave a flaccid condemnation of RGR. We're complaining more about people criticizing her. The only thing that I'm cautious about is that when people get in deep doo-doo online for doing something shitty, the easiest defense that you can play to those people is to ignore what they did and just hyperfixate on the people who are getting angry at the person for the bad thing they did, you know? If you fuck up online and there's a lot of attention, it is mathematically guaranteed that a large number of people are looking at what you're doing, and some of them are going to like take it too far. But if you hyperfixate on the people taking it too far to the exclusion of contextualizing the broader thing that happened, you can play this defense for anything, you know? Blair White does something horrible. Well, there are people going too hard against Blair White, aren't there? Like, Blair White's done lots of bad shit, but there are probably people like posting death threats. And if all you tweet is that people posting death threats are bad, like that, then it's like, okay, well, all right, but what about all this, you know? And I mean, this happens a lot. J.K. Rowling did this as well, yeah. Where J.K. Rowling, like, millions of people paid attention to what J.K. Rowling was tweeting, but you know, were some people saying you should get a pipe bomb? Like, yeah, but I mean, it's a guarantee, you know. If your tweet gets enough attention, you can tweet that you're going to go on a walk later, and somebody will give you a death threat. It's you have to, I think, properly contextualize that. Here's the tweet thread itself. Oh, hold on. So Dylan says, having a bad take does not give you the right to treat a human being like scum. Jesus. Obviously, if the take is Hitler is good, like, duh, the standard changed, but come on, don't be nitpicky, you know what I mean. And then Doe says, sure, Hitler is obviously bad. How about when the take is from a law student saying the guy buying a child to fuck wasn't thinking with sexual intent, but with transactional intent? I don't know. I just think it's really interesting that somebody would tweet something like this with such a lack of context. I wonder what the reasoning for that could possibly be. The answer is clout. The answer is always clout. Another very interesting tweet, Dylan. And Dylan said, I try not to get involved in the delusional. Dylan says, I never said I was any good at it. Doe says, good at what? Dylan says, not getting involved in the delusional. This seems pretty bad from Dylan here. Doe is the victimized party in this situation, I think. So for Dylan to be like this seems like not just not contextualizing the info, but deliberately refraining from contextualizing it. You know? I don't know. It seems to me like it's beyond just like focusing on one thing, and rather sort of you know. Doe says, well, I hope your next definitely for sure 100% non-delusional panel show goes well. Dylan says, thanks. I hope you have a pleasant day. Doe says, I was. Your tweet made it harder, but don't worry. I don't believe I have to consent to seeing your tweets. Dylan says, if my tweet calling for people to not go after the job of a person who I think is doing good work in my state made your day worse, that was never the intention. I genuinely hope you have a nice day. And then Doe says, in quotes, I only gestured vague support to somebody who said horrible things to you while removing all context from the situation. I just really can't fathom why you're bothered. That seems like a fair point from Doe, end quote. I would have respected you much more if you said, quote, I like to stay on good terms with people who make me money, end quote. Well, could be their friends, too. Actually, the support was clear. The lack of context was the vague part. Oh, also, mind telling me what specifically you were referring to by the delusional? Sorry, I just want to make sure the record is really clear and give you the chance to speak for yourself. That going after her job is delusional, said Dylan. Then there's that tweet, okay. Nothing here is going after her job. Dylan says she's literally on the board of a civil rights org. It literally is. I find that delusional. Doe says she shouldn't be, and me saying that isn't going after her job. The same as Gayfesh's tweet. If I said or heavily implied my audience should try to get her fired, or if I promoted tweets that attempted to get her fired, that would be going after her job. Doe then says, you're saying this tweet is going after her job? Point to where in this tweet they make attempts to get her fired. Dylan says, Okay, this post is going after the ability to participate in advocacy, which I thought was delusional. There are also people going after the bar, which is also delusional. I got the two mixed up, but still delusional. Doe said, maybe she should start doing, I'm assuming, good advocacy. If the people she's advocating on behalf of, like queer communities, don't like her, they have every right to say so. That's not delusional. So I think this is an argument that Doe has the right to make, you know? I certainly think that RGR's behavior online is unbecoming of a person on a civil rights I mean, like, obviously there does have to be some relationship between the things you do and like your appointment to boards like that, right? I mean, I think. Um, Now you could say it's like esoteric and this online drama doesn't like perfectly describe her value elsewise, but I think there's at least an argument to be had here. Dylan says, every Maryland queer I know who knows of her advocacy has shining reviews. Her stuff offline has been great. The last thing I want is someone doing good work to be thrown off their work. As a queer, I think she does good work. I'm not sure if I like that necessarily. Then Doe says, thanks for making your stance queer. I'm glad we can all be clear about our stances here. You just think it's cool to play defense for people who say buying human beings for sex is, quote, primarily about the buying. If that's who you want advocating for you, say it with your chest. And then it seems to end there. At least in this case, we're not really talking about going after one's job, right? We're just talking about one's suitability for a progressive board. I mean, at the very least, what a person does online is definitely relevant to their presence on such a board, is it not? I mean, it would have to be, I assume. If I was on board with like a LGBTQ advocacy group, you know, and some of my Joker takes were made visible, I know that would have an influence, especially when she's a public figure. Well, yeah, right. I mean, you know, we're responsible. See, so I can link. What's up, Gally? You would have to step down, lol. There's a reason why I'm not on the board for any. Actually, that's not true. I think I'm kind of like on the PR board for that LGBTQ museum that's going to be opening up. Remember when I did that Zoom call with the inventor of the trans flag, among a few other people? Hold on. Getting linkied here. Oh my god. Wait, Gally, did you put this together? Wait, this unironically might work. I'd have to make a few tweaks, but this unironically might work. Yeah, I just made this. Okay, out of honor to Gale, my IRL friend, who I care about more than any of you, uh, this will be. I'll have to make a few tweaks to make it to confirm emote stuff because you always have to make sure like the lines are clear when viewed from a small size. But hold on, let me save that. That is absolutely going to be. I'll work on it today. Hold on, save image as PNG. Thank you. Beautiful. Thank you, Gale, for your contribution. Vaush text. Tempest. Oh yeah, if it's not too much trouble. Maybe for the Vaush pit? It seems relevant at least. What's that emote for? Just for you fuckers to spam whenever I start talking about 40k. Is the hack gonna be like soy K? Maybe it should be like 40 gay? I don't know. We'll soy TK. we'll work on it, okay? We'll there are lots of permutations. Let me see. Okay, so here's the actual Twitter. And then here's Dylan's tweet, which looks like it got ratioed. Soy Hammer seems like it'd be the likely one. What do you think of her pedo-jacketing Doe? I'd never heard this term before, but it seems to describe basically every day of my life, so... You're being awfully silent on all the things Riley did wrong, Lamau. You can just say you don't want to lose a potential resource. Like, Dylan, come on, it's very transparent here. You're biased towards pointing out harm only coming from one side. And then Doe says, these are excellent points, Alyssa. I wonder how being baselessly branded as a pedophile affects one's potential employment as advocacy efforts. That's also a pretty good argument. Worth considering, at least. Well, I don't know if Dylan's actually seen the full context or anything, but you do have to be careful with your reactive support on some of this stuff. Dylan got big mad here too. Yeah, I saw Dylan was bragging about blocking Gayfesh. Yeah, see, stuff like this is a little actually quite bad. So, Gayfesh responded, the bad take in question was, this CSA survivor is a pedophile and Vaush defends public sex in front of children, but I'm glad to see you're running defense for a crybaby. And Dylan Burns says, easiest block of my life. Which is odd, because all Gayfesh is doing here is just clarifying what the bad take is. It's not even... yeah. Well, I'll have to talk with Dylan sometime in the future, but no, that is very much what Riley did, so. What is he doing? Well, is he not friends with RGR? I think he's friends with RGR. Are they actually IRL friends? Or I think they've hung out IRL. Well, I've hung out with Dylan. I don't know. They do offline work, I think. All right. Well, there's a. I feel like being quiet might have been the best. Let it simmer for a few days. But you know, Dylan seems to have problems when people are somehow personally attached to him in any way. Listen, I'm not suggesting Dylan has to burn the bridge entirely. Believe it or not, I do believe in restorative justice. I genuinely want Riley to come back in a month with a full apology for Doe, which Doe has no obligation to accept, by the way. I was wrong about this, this, and that. I'm just going to keep my nose to the ground, do this, that, and the other, watch my streams, blah, blah. If she does that, I think that's great. I won't shit talk her for doing that. Of course, if there was an apology, but it was really half-assed or super cunty, I mean, you know, but in concept, I'm totally okay with that. But I have to say, I feel like sometimes the only type of person worse than a habitual bridge burner is the type of person who never lets a bridge burn, you know? I really do hate. I feel like that reflexive need to defend friends no matter what, it contributes to so much bad shit online. You know? I feel like there's so much yeah, like sometimes the bridges should, or like, you know, you should turn on your friends because they've done a bad thing and you should, but people will like really reflexively defend. I think, now this is my bias again, but I feel like I strike a reasonable balance. I try to keep on good terms and keep close with the people who are around me, but I think I've demonstrated that I'm extremely okay with burning bridges. What about people who want you to stop being friends with Shu? Those people are insane. The Shu thing is like this unique, maddening... Because what I'm talking about right now is you should be able to criticize your friends. How many times have I criticized Shu in this program? Holy shit. Could I have done it more? I swear to God, it was like, there are memes about how often I do it. Like, they're literally like, yeah, like constant. So the concern is when you refuse to criticize a friend. But if you criticize constantly, but then it's like, oh, well, you know, we're on good terms anyway, then, well, at that point, if you have a problem with that, that's just parasocial shit. Yeah, the goddammit Shu. If anything, Shu's a victim of my hen pecking, you know. I literally made a video called the Shu question. Yeah, and I have it on good word that she was, you know, a little sad over it. Because it was an hour and 15 minutes of a friend tearing into her you know, her personality and positions. So gotta love the dude who helped start the whole ban kink and pride discourse months ago, turning around and acting like a hero for going after RGR. His grift is so transparent. From Bad Bunny. First of all, I think Shu started that discourse. I think I just elevated it massively by going hard on stream. But anyway, that person is Kami Sailor Moon, by the way. All right. Those are two entirely different things. Oh yeah, they're very much different things. I honestly think like this is not no, she's not Vaush. Well, I don't know. Wouldn't kink and pride make everyone pedos by RGR standards? Yes. But my argument, the people, even before I adjusted my position, the people I was saying were doing weird pedo shit was there were people on Twitter who were like, well, kids are kinky too. That I will happily say you're saying some weird pedo shit. If it's in defense of like adults and children interacting in like a mutual like kink setting, I'll happily, yeah, absolutely. I'll throw that one out. There were only a few people tweeting that, but now if your argument is in a vacuum, like kids are cool. When I was 15, I was into some weird shit, but that's not a defense of like the in public, like, oh, an adult wearing like, you know, the cock strap and dancing in front of the face. I'll just say this, okay? I think overwhelmingly kink at Pride is done responsibly. Overwhelmingly LGBT Pride, gay Pride parades, events are done in ways which are responsible and respectful. There's always going to be some weirdos on Twitter, or like one photo taken that makes it look, you know, more weird than it really was, or like maybe sometimes something weird happens. Weird things are known to happen, but I don't really think it's like a systemic issue necessarily. Though I will say that the child like drag queen shit, you know, like who was that like 10-year-old who was like dressing up, that I don't like child performers almost as a rule, but if it's going to be some appearance-based thing, like even if you don't think it's sexual, being a drag queen is undeniably a form of pageantry, and I don't like pageantry for children, even if it was completely non-sexual. I mean, even if they're dressed up to the nines, it's just having 10-year-olds obsess over their makeup and appearance and go out there for a bunch of adults to cheer them on, and what they were doing with that kid was far worse than what I'm describing right now. I'm giving the charitable version, but yeah.